Open the door. Open the door.
I just rang your doorbell because I have a couple questions for you. What? Are you sure?
Girls hospitalized after playing with Ouija boards at their school in Colombia.
Hey, you remember it, don't you? The girls
posted that photo. Is there a spirit here?
Have I had the coronavirus before?
And burned that board because it opens up doors to the spirit. And if you've ever played with that, you're playing with the devil. And God has you on this video because he wants to set you free.
When I was 18 or 19, I was with my mom. I'm from a small city in Illinois, southern Illinois, basically. And we were riding around one day and we happened to come across this yard sale. So she wanted to stop and I said, okay, let's go see what they got. So we get there and you can tell everything that had been laying on the table, everything was basically covered in like a fine layer of dust. So either it was in an attic or a garage or something, I don't know. But I was looking on the tables and I saw an Ouija board. It was fully intact. It had, on the inside of the box, it had the board and the planchette. So I asked my mom if I could have it and she said yeah. And so took it home. Fast forward to maybe 6 months. I never opened it, by the way. So fast forward 6 months, I get my own place, I box it up, and I put it in the utility closet. Fast forward another 3 months, I finally remember that I have the Ouija board. So I was already out. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna stop and pick up like this cheap bottle of vodka and I'm gonna go home and play with the board. So I get home and remind you, I had stored my box in a utility closet. So I opened up the utility closet and I guess the water heater that was in it had leaked or something, but I had it stored in just a regular cardboard box. Completely soaked the box and everything that was in it, including the Ouija board. Completely warped the board. It was ruined. I couldn't use it, so I had no choice but to throw it away. Well, next day I call out maintenance to have them come look at the water heater because I don't want it to continue to leak. And they come out, they open up the utility closet, they poke around, look around. They said that they couldn't find a leak. So I don't know, was it some sort of intervention or something? Because like I said, I had a bottle of liquor and it was ready to go.
Whatever you do not talk to Zozo. I did this and messed up so bad. First of all, you guys shouldn't even be using Ouija boards. But I know some of you guys are not gonna listen to me, and talking to him is a no-no. Actually, you can't even say his name out loud 3 times or you will summon him. When I was 16, I accidentally summoned Nozo. Before I tell you what happened, let me tell you a little bit about who Bozo is. Toto is also known as the Ouija board demon. Of all the things to talk to on a Ouija board, he's not it. He is supposedly a fallen angel that was banished from the heavens by God. Some people even compare him to the actual devil. In the 1940s, a little boy named Roland Doe was possessed. It has become a widespread belief that Toto is the one that possessed him. This little boy's story is what inspired the first exorcism movie. One of the reasons you have to be so careful with Ouija boards and talking to Toenail is because he can actually mimic voices of the dead. And a lot of times people using Ouija boards are wanting to talk to dead loved ones. He will prey on your insecurities and your fears, and overall he just sucks. He delights in scaring people, so whether that's telling you you're gonna pass soon or telling you there's 9 ghosts instead of 2, 2 in the house. He even goes as far as to confuse psychics by telling them things like he's a little boy ghost and he's scared of the big bad ghost in the corner. There's a malevolent spirit in the house, but really there's only one, and it's him. He is a master deceiver, and we can go through the whole history of Bobo. Some people even think he's the only spirit that you actually talk to through a Ouija board, which I hope that is not the case because I've used a Ouija board a lot in my life. Go to part 2 and I'm going to tell you about what happened in my personal story with Momo. How I talked to Zozo. This is part 2. If you missed part 1, go back and watch that. It was Halloween and I was in high school. Now I grew up in a small town, and if you're in a small town, you most likely have one of these. Around Halloween, a bunch of like haunted hayride things will pop up. It's like the thing to do with friends or a date. And I was a theater kid, so when my friend Connor from theater class asked me if I wanted to go on this haunted hayride, I said yes. Now, I didn't see Connor as anything more than a friend, and actually one of my friends had a crush on Connor. So when we went on the hayride and Connor tried to kiss me, I was caught off guard to say the least. But I'm a girl's girl, and I'm not about to do my friend like that. This is Piper, my haunted doll, and she's gonna play Connor for this demonstration. Because I know there's some girls out there that will be like, oh, well, he kissed me, I didn't kiss him. This is how you be avoiding that. He comes in like this, and I'm like, anyways, I swerve Connor. You're probably like, what does this have to do with ghost hunting, Nikki? Well, I didn't do anything risky in high school. I didn't sleep with people. I didn't drink, nothing of that sort. So when Connor decided to come up with a rumor to boost his ego at school the next day, the most realistic thing he could come up with was that I was a witch. And boy, did people believe that one. Yes, I dyed my hair black. Yes, I had a black cat. But I was at church every Wednesday. Y'all know small town rumors, they don't just disappear. So being the queen that I am, and I heard this rumor, I embraced it. One, if everyone thinks I'm a witch and they think I'm gonna like curse them or something, which I know that's not all witches do, but that's a pro in my book. So after second period, this girl I've never met comes up to me. The quiet, shy girl that sits in the back of the class. And I have never spoken to this girl in my life. The first thing she says to me is, so I heard you're a witch. And I'm like, call me Ursula, what can I do for you, baby? I'm thinking this girl's gonna be asking me for like a love potion or something, which I would have no idea how to make. No, she says, my house is haunted. Can you get rid of the ghost? Theater Nikki activates. Of course I can get rid of your ghost. Now at this point I already believed in ghosts because I grew up in a haunted house. But this girl did not have a ghost, she had a demon. We'll get to that later. I fill a spray bottle about this size that's clear with water. I show up at her house and tell her it's holy water. I spray it around her house. And then before I leave, I tell her, actually, I'm not a witch, but yeah, this was funny. That's how I met my best friend. Whatever you do, do not talk to Zozo. This is part 3. If you missed part 1 and 2, go back and watch that. In my last video, I told you I met my best friend through a boy telling the whole school that I was a witch. She lived in a haunted house, so that's how this all got started. The house that I grew up in was also haunted, but we'll get into that later. First, let me tell you a little bit about the thing that was in her house. At the time, we didn't know anything about spirits or ghosts. This thing had a weird affiliation with a snow globe that she kept in her closet. He would appear as a shadow man, and he would pace around her room at night, specifically between the hours of 2 and 3 a.m. We knew there was something there, but we didn't know who it was or what it wanted. So we looked up how to talk to ghosts, and that's where we learned about Ouija boards. How bad can they be? You can get them at your local Toys R Us. Is my age showing with that one? When you first get a Ouija board and you open the box, there's a few rules. Rule number 1, never play alone. Rule number 2, never play in a graveyard. Rule number 4, you never let it go to the 4 corners of the board or make a figure 8. You also never leave the planchette on the board because that opens a portal. Rule number 5, always keep your fingers on the planchette until you say goodbye. And last but not least, the most important rule, always say goodbye. We were young, we were naive, we didn't read instruction manuals. Are you kidding? We basically broke every single one of these rules. But we started using the board to talk to the ghost in her house. We would ask it things like, does my crush like me back? Will so-and-so break up? Who's gonna go to prom with who? But the scary part was, it was always right. And because it was always right, we became addicted to playing with the board because we wanted to know more.
I hope it's not nighttime wherever you are, because this story is why I no longer touch Ouija boards. Mistakes were made. Quick disclaimer, this happened about 7 or 8 years ago when I was a dumb 17-year-old, so some of the details are a little bit fuzzy, but the important parts are floating around in there. It was a dark and stormy evening. Just kidding, it was like the middle of the day in the suburbs, and 2 of my friends asked me to come over to one of their homes because one of them had a Ouija board, but every time she used it, only one thing would come through. And that thing called itself Mama. So I was the weird, creepy friend of the group who was into tarot and supernatural ghosts and ghouls and all of that, so they invited me over so that I could try to use the board and maybe give them my input on what I thought was going on and who this mama was. So knowing almost nothing but thinking I knew everything because I was 17, I went over to their house and we used the Ouija board. I will say, we followed all the rules and we took it very seriously. We never treated it like a joke, but I was less protected than I would like to be nowadays. So I began the session by stating we were ready and willing to communicate respectfully with any present spirits, and that if they wanted to make their presence known, they could move the planchette to yes. Almost immediately, the planchette, straight to yes. Now, if you've ever used boards before, you know that that's kind of unusual unless one of your friends is messing with you and moving it themselves. It normally takes a while to get going once you put that message out there, kind of like your matches on Tinder. But it shot straight to yes, so I followed up by asking, what is your name? And it spelled M-A-M-A, Mama. Immediately, I got this tingly feeling that was not great, and the air felt kind of heavy and staticky. I don't know if my friends were feeling it, but I was. But they kind of had looks on their faces like they were maybe feeling it, or they were just really creeped out. The way I describe the energy is like if you've ever been around when something really bad happened, like somebody broke a bone or got hit by a car, both of which have happened right in front of me. You know the feeling in the air is like charged electrically with a really icky feeling. It was exactly that feeling. So I started asking more questions. How old are you? How did you get here? Did you live here? Etc. And a lot of the answers I'm getting, I'm feeling kind of bullshit. I can't describe it. It was just a feeling I had. Another thing to note was that when it wasn't actively answering a question, the planchette was moving in figure eights. I then asked if any other spirits were present, and it said yes. I asked how many, and it said either 3 or 4. I don't remember the exact number, but I do remember that the answer was yes. So I said, will you let any other spirits communicate? And it immediately jumped to no. I'm sensing whatever this is extremely controlling and overbearing, and it's been lying. At some point, I was feeling a little brave, and I decided to ask, how old are you really? It paused, and the planchette slowly moved to 0. I asked, how old are you really? It paused, and the planchette slowly moved to 0. Even though I was a dumb 17-year-old, I knew that was not good. So it was time to abort mission, close session. Again, because I was stupid. I decided to continue engaging, and I said, will you let us speak to any of the other present entities? And it said, no. I said, okay, well, we're ready to close the session. Would you like to say goodbye? And it said, nope. So as if I was talking to some little kid, I said, well, if you're not going to let us talk to anybody else, we're going to have to say goodbye. And it just went, no, 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 no. So that's when I decided being kind and patient was not working anymore, and I needed to be stern and direct. So I stated, you have no power here. We are controlling the session, and we are ready to say goodbye. So my friend and I began to move the planchette to goodbye. And I don't know if she remembers this as vividly as I do, but I swear it felt like something was magnetically pulling against as we were pushing it towards goodbye. And I knew it was not her moving it because she looked just about as scared shitless as I was. Also, this was not the kind of friend to play pranks like that. So we had to push the planchette over the words goodbye, and we said goodbye. And the feeling kind of went. Once the staticky, icky feeling went away, I looked at my friends and I told them, this is really not good. Even though I was 17 and stupid, I knew enough to know that if something says it is 0 years old, that means it has never existed on this earth. And when it said it was 0, that was the only time I genuinely felt it was answering candidly. Also, it made me kind of want to throw up a little bit. I told my friend I thought that whatever it was really negative, potentially demonic, and that it had essentially tainted this board, that it was spoiled, that nothing else could come through because it had left a stain on this portal, essentially is what they are, and she could never use it without only that entity coming through. And I told her if she wasn't careful and she accidentally permitted it to manifest itself outside of the board, she was inviting it into her home. So my advice was to get rid of it, never use one again, and especially never ever ever take one inside of your home. And that was essentially it. She did what I told her. Years went by, I stopped thinking about it until one day I saw an article titled Zozo the Ouija Demon, also known as Mama.
I'm breaking my kid code of silence with this one, but here's a quick story time on playing the Ouija board in the Bronx. It's 1995, 1996. We don't got cell phones. The hangout spot is Vlad's apartment. Vlad's apartment got people in and out at all times, day and night. There's a Ouija board in the crib. I decided to play with it. A lot of us are playing with it. This is going on day after day after day. So we're talking to all these different spirits. There's one spirit named Frank. He identifies himself and he tells us his story about how he got moped out in the Bronx and he was from 146th Street. The dude, he gave us vivid details down to like phone numbers and all that. He asked us to call his family. But this is where it got strange. At some point, Frank decided to show off his spirit skills and would identify people before they'll show up. And that started freaking us out. Like, Frank, we cool. We hear your story, but chill. Because, like, Lou would show up knocking on the door and the board just wrote Lou. Or the board would start reading. Now, this is the part that really got me. There's a dude amongst us. His name was Trauma. His real name was Marlon, but none of us knew that because in the hood, you don't know nobody's name unless you get locked up with them, stop and frisk with them, or you went to school with them. But because that was Vlad's man from another block, we ain't know his real government. So now the board is writing Marlon and Traum shows up. We like, haha, Frank, you're not as good as we thought you was. No, we look at Vlad's face. Vlad's looking back at us with a certain face on us, and I'm already getting scared. He's like, yo, Marlon is Trom's name. Marlon don't know what's going on. He's just walking into this, and the only people holding the board are people who don't know Trom's real name is Mal. At this point, things are happening to people on the block. It's a lot drama and real bad things happening, newspaper-worthy stuff happening amongst like our friends. So we decided to give up this Ouija board. We're like, you know what? This is a little too deep for us. Fast forward a month later, this is where things got really strange for me. I see these two girls come out of building on my block. So all this took place on Creston Avenue on 197. And I lived on Kingsbridge and Morris. So I'm on my way to Morris after a day of being on Creston. And I see these two girls, they walk out the building. Yo, Rich, what's good? What you doing right now? I'm like, nothing. Yo, come in the building. We playing the Ouija board. We're like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to play. We had this whole experience. I'm not with that no more. And she's like, nah, but it's real. It's real. I'm like, trust me. I know it's real. She's like, you know, anyway, so whatever they was going to do, for some reason, I decided, let me ask, what's the spirit's name that they're talking to? And so I'm like, yo, legit, you know, what's the name of the spirit you're talking to? Whatever way I asked or whatever. You know what the spirit's name was? Take a wild guess. Shorty's was really talking to Frank on the Ouija board a month later. Anyway, we made a pact like the Goonies to never talk about it again. This is the first time somebody's talking about it in public. It's real, y'all.
A 16-year-old girl wanted to know if her boyfriend was cheating on her, so she bought a Ouija board. Yeah, you heard that right. And just so you know, this story gets crazier. So this girl brings the Ouija board home and plays with it by herself. The first question she asks the Ouija board is, do you want to play with me? In which the Ouija board responds, yes. She said she had suspicions of her boyfriend cheating on her and she wanted to know the truth, so she asked the Ouija board, is my boyfriend cheating on me? To which the Ouija board replied, yes. She then asked the Ouija board, do you know if this girl has a phone number? To which, of course, the Ouija board replied, yes. She asked the Ouija board if he can give her the girl's number, and it starts giving her a phone number, which she starts writing down on a piece of paper. So after writing down this phone number, she decides to ask the Ouija board if it knows the girl's name, and it gave her the name of Nayeli Ortiz. She immediately leaves the Ouija board, goes to get her phone, and call the number. When she calls, a man answers, and she asks if she can speak with Nayeli Ortiz. The man stays a little quiet, and he's like, yes, but what is this about? And the girl's like, oh, I'm just a friend. Can I just speak with her? To which the man stays quiet on the phone again and says, well, here's the thing. There is a girl named Nayeli Ortiz here, but she's 2 years old, so how can she have a friend? So after that, the girl's realizing that the Nayeli Ortiz the guy's talking about is 2 years old and not another 16-year-old girl. She apologizes and gets off the phone immediately. So she goes back to the Ouija board and asks why it would give her a name of a 2-year-old girl and not another 16-year-old girl that her boyfriend's cheating on her with. The Ouija board responds, that little girl is going to die. In which she says, why? Why is she going to die? And the Ouija board spells out, I'm going to take her. So at this point, the girl's like, no, stop playing with me. You're scaring me, and decides to stop playing the Ouija board. So she stopped playing the Ouija board. The following day, she gets very curious and she still has the phone number. So she decides to call. So she calls the number, the same guy answers, and she asks to speak with Nayeli Ortiz. Except this time the guy cussed her out and told her how insensitive it is and how rude it is for her to be asking about his daughter when she had just died that morning. and he hung up on her. So after that, she just couldn't believe that happened. Like, the Ouija board said the girl was gonna die. The girl actually dies, and she just thinks it's a dream. Like, this couldn't have happened to her. So at this point, years have passed, and she's still in disbelief that this could have happened to her and the way it happened to her. So she gets curious again, and she wants to go look for the phone number that's in her wallet so that she can call again and maybe get more information this time. Except for that phone number that's on a piece of paper is no longer in her wallet, and she could never find it again. At this point, she still had the Ouija board, and she hid it under her bed, and she claims that every time they would clean or something, that Ouija board would reappear like in the middle of her bedroom, almost like it wanted her to play with it again. It got so bad that the dad ended up burning that Ouija board, and she mentions buying another one. She bought another one because she wanted to continue to play with it. I don't know, man. I feel like I would have just contacted one of my best friends, would have given me all that information I needed to know if my boyfriend was cheating on me or not. Also, she didn't even give us an update if her boyfriend was cheating on her or not. And that's how it ends, basically. I don't know what to make of it, because I feel like that shit is scary, and if anything, that happening would make me not want to play with the Ouija board again. By the way, this story was originally in Spanish, and it's in one of those podcasts where people can call in and tell them their scary story. So if I find the original creator, I will tag them in the caption, because I don't think where I saw it is the original person, like the original podcast people. But if I do find it, it'll be in the comments. But what the hell do you guys think about this story?
So one of my first times ever playing Ouija was in the house of a Jehovah's Witness. If you're watching this, I fucking love you. How are you? My friend wasn't actually like she wasn't down for Jehovah, but since her family was in it, obviously she was in there. They did not know what we were doing in that house, right? We make the little Ouija board on a freaking piece of paper. We tie ourselves to it because I watched, enough YouTube videos to show how to connect yourself to the board, but not to get rid of it. At this point, I had one ancestor that I was close with in my practice, and they were yelling the whole time. What ensued, I don't know what energy surrounds people that are Jehovah's Witnesses, but when I tell you I've not had interesting, scary maybe, because they called things that, like, at that point in my practice I had no idea about, but then they pretended to be like Zozo for a while. Me and my friends were like, and then we realized that it wasn't accurately that. But don't do that in a Jehovah's Witnesses house.
This is by far the scariest story I've ever heard in my entire life. So when I was in high school, I used to do group therapy, and there's specifically this one boy who had a giant laceration across his throat. And I guess his father passed away, and his mom, sister, and him were so grief-stricken that they decided to use a Ouija board to try to talk to him. And I guess the experience went fine, whatever. Well, one day his mom and his sister were out at the house, and he said, I want to use the Ouija board by myself. I really want to talk to my dad. Well, he starts to use the Ouija board by himself, and he's like a younger kid while he's doing this. Something came through the board that was so evil. It overtook his mind, his body, everything, and he says, like, the last thing he remembers is whatever the entity was that overtook him, literally getting him to slice his neck open with a knife. Like, it was terrifying. And of course, no doctors or physicians believed him, so they threw him in an institution, right? But I'll tell you who did believe him. I did. And so did the woman who ran the group therapy. You know why? Because she was a shaman. She was a shaman. She was like, holy fuck. And I was like, holy fuck.
Anyone else's grandmother tasked them with burning a 50-year-old Ouija board.
What in the Sam Hill are you doing? That's not how any of this works. Oh, my sweet summer child. Oh, shit. Okay, if it magically returns whole, unburnt in the box, you should properly dispose of it in a different way. Let me tell you how. Mama was helping out my auntie, who's a landlord, and she was cleaning out a unit that someone had moved out of and left a bunch of stuff in. Let me tell you how you get a Ouija board out of your life. You go somewhere that's reasonably undisturbed. Middle of the woods is a good idea. That's where my mom went. Then you dig yourself a hole deep enough that animals or people won't be able to easily dig it up. Then you place just the board in the hole face down. Then, about 10 feet away, you dig another hole. Put the planchette in that hole. Then fill the holes, turn around, walk away, and do not look back at it. Better call a medium, because girl, you fucked up.
I know everyone's talking about their scary stories and stuff that they've had happen to them after using Ouija boards, but I just want to say that if you lived below me in Brooklyn in 2018 and you were like, why does this Ouija board keep showing up at my house, and you were getting really scared and posting on social media about how you kept finding this Ouija board even when you kept throwing it away, it was me. You said that my dog was annoying, and so then I kept pranking you by having my Ouija board show up at your house. And I would dig in the trash to go get it every time you threw it out. Okay, bye.
You scared? Nigga, you scared? No? I'm not scared. Alright, we ain't doing none of the TV shit. I think all that shit is fake. We just gonna ask simple ass questions. We ain't hold no fucking hands. We just gonna see what the fuck happened. We made our own fucking Ouija board. No, ain't nobody touching it. That's phony. If there's a ghost in here, he gonna move that motherfucker by his damn self.
I know you think it's cold in here too.
Don't try to scare you with the TV shit. Nobody's cold. The AC is on in the house. Don't even try. Ready? Everybody ready? Is there anyone else in here besides us? Can you hear me?
Hold on, give it a minute.
How long we gotta fucking wait?
Are you okay? Oh my god! It's all right.
Here. Oh my god. Goodbye. Oh my god, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
I'm freaked out now. Oh no. Hold on.
Was that upstairs? Oh my god. Oh my god!
Monica, calm down!
Am I dealing or am I speaking with the devil right now through this Ouija board? It is not Brenda. You've just said it's Brenda. It's not Brenda, is it? Oh my god. There's actually handprints on the ceiling there, coming through. Wow. Right guys, I'm absolutely crapping myself right now. I'm trying to take deep breaths. Who am I communicating? I'm losing my. Who am I communicating with through this board? D. E. My nose is bleeding right now. Oh my god. A demon, it's trying to say. I know I've got no tissue, but my nose is bleeding right now. The board is moving. Oh my god, right, that's it. I'm done. I'm off. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gone. The board is moving. Oh my god, right, that's it. I'm done. I'm off. I'm sorry, guys.
You ever played with a Ouija board before? If so, you're gonna wanna watch this. My best friend would play with Ouija boards, sometimes even tarot cards. Spirits would actually really talk to us. Fast forward, I got radically saved, went back to her house. I said, do you still have these Ouija boards and tarot cards? She goes, yes, they're under my bed. Went upstairs to her room. She turned around and looked at me because I was like, I'm gonna play some worship music in here. She goes, something inside me does not like this. I go, it's a demon. It's gonna come out. Get in my car. Went in my car, started praying for her, and she goes, all these spirits are around your car. I go, and they're gonna have to leave. I started praying for her. She started coughing up things, and things started leaving her. We went and burned her tarot cards and burned that board because it opens up doors to the spirit. And if you've ever played with that, you're playing with the devil. And God has you on this video because he wants to set you free. And if you need prayer, drop in the comments. And if you know anyone who's looked at this, please share this video and follow for more.
So I just seen on my For You page, this girl report about 28 women were hospitalized due to using a Ouija board. And that shit triggered a memory, so story time. It's 2007 or 8. I go over my friend's house, it's a Friday, we're after school, we're hanging out. I remember when I was on my way to her house, I was listening to Paramore's Miseries. So that had to be 2007. I don't know why I'm adding that. I just want y'all to have a little bit more detail. So boom, I go over her house. We're all making strawberry shortcake. I call my mom. I'm like, Ma, I'm gonna be at my friend's house till later on tonight. I'll be home in a little while. My mom said, I don't know about that shit, but bring your ass home in a timely manner. I'm like, cool, but it's fall, so you know it gets dark early. And I'm a scary ass bitch, so I'm like, I'm gonna be home way before then. The mom goes upstairs because she's tired, so we start to pull out the stuff from the fridge to make the strawberry shortcake. As we do that, as we're washing her hands, she proceeds to pull out a bag that has a game board in it. And this bitch pulls out a brand new Ouija board. I said, bitch, where you get that from? That bitch at a toy store. Little did I know that toy stores actually make those as board games. But I know about that shit because I come from a spiritual family who knows better. So my friend who house we're at, she's like, who wants to play before we do the strawberry shortcake? But of course, everybody else is like, well, let's just try it out. And I'm like, okay, I'll watch, y'all do it. 20 minutes go by and I'm just waiting for the strawberry shortcake because, bitch, that's my motive for being here. They're doing it and no activity happened. So I'm like, can we finally make the dessert? And they're like, fine, okay. The girl goes to lift up the board to fold it back up and put it in a box. The bottom is black. And when I mean black like it was burnt underneath. Like if you have a candle that's sitting too low underneath something, all the smoke will turn it black. And once again, it was on the table the whole time. We were all watching it. I was watching it. They was touching it. And it was cardboard. So I'm not going to act like it was something that was like solid wood and shit. Like it was brand new. I seen her take it out the wrapping and everything. It wasn't there. So bitch, I'm all looking like, girl, this shit is too much for me. So an hour later goes by, we're eating the strawberry shortcake. But when I get nervous or when I just get anxious, I got the feeling like I have to poop even when I don't. TMI, I know, I'm sorry. So I go to her downstairs bathroom, which is by the back door, and I hear knocking at the door. So I wash my hands, leave out the bathroom, and I'm like, who's knocking at the door? You know, because I'm not going to open up somebody else's door because this ain't my house. And the girls is like, bitch, we ain't hear nobody. And I'm like, oh shit, here we go. I go to sit down. 5 minutes later, I hear knocking at the back door. This time, the mom's upstairs. She's like, can somebody answer that fucking door? And the daughter's like, Ma, there's nobody knocking at the door. But I heard it and the mom heard it. I've had a lot of supernatural experiences that have knocking involved in them. She opens up the back door, a cold wind comes in. It was fall, it could have been that. But me? I'm so fucking scared, I leave immediately. Left so fast, I left my house key, so I'm knocking at my front door like, Ma, let me in. My mom opens up the door to let me in. I walk past her and she stops me. She says, oh, come back here real quick. Sorry for the delay. My friend called her. You know when two friends start gossiping, it goes on forever. So anyway, I go up onto the porch, right? And I'm knocking because I left my key at my friend's house. Because when I tell y'all, my ass was out of there. I don't got to get burnt twice to know that a stove is hot. So my mom comes to the door. She opens it up. And I come in past her, right? And I don't know what it is. But you know when you got a psychic, spiritual black mama who comes from a long line of, if your eyes are truly open, the way they can sense shit that the mundane can't is on another level. If you know, you know. So I walk past her, girl. I'm making a beeline for the living room. And she's like, come back here. I stop and turn around because I think I'm probably in trouble for something because it's always something. She says, take off your clothes down to your boxers and lay them on the porch and go take your ass in the bath. And I'm like, Ma, I'm clean. I showered before I went to school. And I'm like, my friend's house is clean too. She said, I ain't asking all that. Just do what I say. So I do it, right? And I'm in my boxers, so I walk to the bathroom and then I turn on the shower. And she's like, bitch, I didn't say the shower, I said the bath. And I'm like, Ma, I hate baths because for me, I've always been a shower hoe. I don't like the notion of just sitting in your own filth. I know you can shower first and then bathe later. It's just not for me. So I run the bath water. I'm sitting in the tub. She gets a cup of salt, throws it in there, and she says, wash up now. So I do it. When I tell y'all, my mom made sure I was clean. And she threw out my clothes, and I was pissed because I had an Echo Unlimited shirt, and I didn't get name brand shit often. Fast forward many years later, I go up to my mom, and I'm like, girl, you was trying to cleanse me for shit I didn't even know about back then. And I never even think to tell my mom it was a Ouija board because old school black parents don't play that shit. I would have never been able to go to nobody's house. And the reason why I just love my mom, because she's like, long story short, she's like, when you got in, I could tell something was opened around you. And she's like, even though nothing was technically on you, with the right senses, you can sense when some shit's been opened around you. She said, sometimes it's not enough to not touch it. Sometimes you just have to take yourself out of the situation. For an example, if you're in a room with somebody and you're wearing a mask, but they still sneeze, there's a good chance that the germs sometimes could still get to you and make you sick. It won't happen for everybody, but the germs still do travel and sometimes attach themselves. You gotta think of the same way with spirituality and occult items. They're good for some, they don't work for others. They do bad shit for some, they do good shit for others. But she said, that's some shit you keep your bitch ass away from. And I said, yes, ma'am. And now over I would say, 20 years later, I will say, if I'm ever around somebody that has one, that's all right for them. However, I'm gonna just respectfully leave. So this question is in regards to my Ouija board story time. And it asks, what happened to the other people who touched it? And I don't mean to be anticlimactic, but y'all know I'm gonna keep it real with y'all even if it's boring. After that night, I don't think no activity happened in their home because I never returned. When we got back to school though, one of the girls who was there did tell the mom that night what happened. And the mom just threw it away. But the mom was also tired, so she was probably just thought, kids acting a fool. And I'm gonna answer some other questions that I've been seeing in the video. I got my key back because my friend brought it back that Monday at school. We didn't have any falling out. Our friendship just drifted apart the next year. Other people asked, did you ever tell your mom what it was? No, because, moms got that sixth sense. And I grew up with a psychic mom and grandmother and auntie. So I was never gonna snitch on myself with shit they already probably knew. And I had an old school mom. If I would have told her flat out, I would have never been able to go anywhere again. And I mean that literally. She would have never let me leave again. Except for school and home.
So me and my twin, we was probably like 11, 12 years old. So we always saw this commercial on how they show you before Christmas, they have all these commercials come out with all the toys. So we saw the commercial about the Ouija board. You see a bunch of little teenage girls. They run a Ouija board and they ask them, am I getting my allowance? And the things like, yeah, is that would I pass my test? So they made this seem fun. So me and my sister before then never heard of a Ouija board. Never really heard of it. And so we begged our mama, hey mama, can we go get the Ouija board? Can we get this? Because at first we was like, Ouija, we didn't know how to pronounce Ouija. My mom didn't know what the hell we was talking about. So when the commercial came on, we showed mama like, mom, this is. She was like, that's all y'all want. We said, we don't want nothing else but that. My mom was like, okay, good. So she was happy because that's one thing she didn't have to buy for two of us. So hey, we just got that one thing. So she was like, bet, cool. So we got it. My grandmother and daddy, nobody knew what we was getting. So when we got it for Christmas, we was like, yes. We were so happy. So my grandma was like, come over here and show grandma what y'all got, baby. And we showed her. She's like, oh, what the hell? My grandma said, oh, no, ma'am. And she looked at my mom like, why the hell you bought them this? My mom said, oh, ain't nothing. That's just a toy. My grandma was like, that is not a toy. And me and my sister was like, what? So we thrusting the thing in her face. Like, what's wrong with it? We had the box. She was like, get that out. Get away from me. She said, don't come near me with it. Don't come in my room with it. Stay away from me. She said, I prefer y'all to even play it while I'm in this house. Just stay away from me. I was like, why are you tripping for it? It's just a toy. My grandma was like, no, it's not. Y'all don't understand what it is. So she was trying to tell us, and my mom was just looking at her like, I guess you just don't tell her. So my grandma said, just stay away from me. Don't come with me. It's like, okay, well, fine. So my daddy came over later that afternoon to see her for Christmas. And my dad said, what y'all got, baby? So we showed our dad. My dad said, what the hell? And we was like, what? He's like, what y'all doing with that? We was like, it's just a toy. My dad was like, no, it's more than just a toy. What the? And my mom's like, leave them alone. That's what they want. That's what they got. Leave them alone. So my dad was like, no. He said, don't come around me with it. Don't bring it. Don't even bring it to, he's always pick us up and take us to his mom's house, or my other grandma's house. He said, you came up, take that. It can't come in the car with me. I don't want to see it. Keep it out of my eyesight. And we was like, why everybody tripping? So we was like, okay. So me and my sister was like, man, whatever. So we read the directions and we planned this thing. It always said, don't laugh over the board because you'll get a big headache or whatever. So we planned the board, just asking silly questions. And so I remember that was around after Christmas break. No, it was during Christmas break. My brother friends came over. They was like, my brother was in high school. Me and my sister was still in middle school. And so he had some older friends and they was on a basketball team. And so they was like, man, we want to know if we're going to win a championship game. We didn't know we're going to win a championship game. And so we asked the Ouija board and they said yes. And they was like, oh, okay. Well, how many points? What's the final score? So this Ouija board gave us a score. It was like 49 to 26 or something. Something like that. I'm just throwing some numbers out. So they just laugh. They laugh about it and went on by their business. Y'all, please tell me why them boys came back to the house and said, man, y'all need to get rid of that shit. And me and my sister was like, get rid of what? They said that board. They said that junk is not cool. We already told our mom that's what, that y'all board was telling the truth. I said, well, did y'all win the championship game? They was like, yeah. And we was like, well, what's the problem? And I said, what was the final score? It had the exact same score. But the Ouija board said, and they was like, man, that shit ain't cool. Y'all need to get rid of it. Me and my sister was like, man, we don't see the big deal. Y'all won, so what's the big deal? They was like, no, we don't want, So they didn't want to come back over the house no more. They kept saying that junk ain't right. So me and my sister was like, okay. So anyway, so we went to church. Because we had went to church that following Sunday because they had closed church, that particular church, that Christmas, because everybody was out of town. So I remember we was at church and all the kids was upstairs, and one of the pastors, junior pastors, came in and he had all the kids. We was like in a row sitting on his couch. So he started on that end. Me and my sister was on this end, back to the other end. So he was going down the road asking everybody what they got for Christmas. And me and my sister looked at each other, oh, girl, he gonna love our gift because, we had the best gift up in here. So he got to me and my twin. He said, so twins, what y'all get? Both of us at the same time said, a Ouija board. The pastor said, what the hell? And he said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in church. He said, what? And we was like, a Ouija board. He said, oh, no, y'all can't play with that. And we was like, it's just a game. He's like, no. He said, it's a gateway to hell. And we stopped and was like, what? He says, y'all mom and grandmom didn't tell you? And we was like, no, our grandmom just said, don't come with her and play, don't come around her and play with that. He said, man, y'all need to get rid of that. That's no joke. It's no game. It's evil. It's demonic. Get rid of it. And so me and my sister was like, man, you don't know what you're talking about. So we went on by our business. So we kept playing with it. So it was telling me that I was going to have 4 kids. But first, my sister asked, was she going to have kids? And said, yeah, I was going to have 2 kids. And which she did have 2 kids. And then she asked was going to be married. It said, yeah. And when my sister asked what she was going to be, I forgot what my sister asked, but it just wouldn't move. So I said, well, get out the way. Let me ask. And I said, well, I have kids. And it's like, yeah. And I said, well, how many kids? And it said 4. But it kept jumping from 4 to 6. 4 to 6. I ended up raising my sister 2 kids. I ended up with 6 kids later. And I was like, man, my sister was like, well, what that mean? I'm going to have 4 or 6 kids. So we didn't know what that meant. And I said, would I be a lawyer? Because I always wanted to be a lawyer. And it was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. So I just graduated law school last year. Yay. But anywho, so I was like, okay. And so as we kept playing, this thing started getting weird. It had started moving on its own. So, me and my sister, we have it sitting on the dresser or whatever, and then we know the pendulum start moving by itself. And me and my sister looking at each other because we had our twin beds and our dresser in between the beds. And so I was like, did you move it? She said, you didn't say, I ain't move it. Did you move it? I said, you didn't say me move it. And so me and my sister went and stood by it. We stood over it and we was like, what's going on? And that thing spelled hurt you. It's a HURT, YOU. And me and my sister looking at each other, who gonna hurt you? Who gonna hurt who? And it said me. And my sister said, who is me? And I said, And I snatched out through that thing. I said, we don't want to know who it is. I threw that shit on the floor. And I said, no, don't ask her who it is. Because it started getting weird. Then it started saying, later on throughout, me and my sisters just keep it under the bed. And every once in a while, we'll put it out and play with it. And like if we're going to pass our Spanish test or we're going to pass our English test or whatever, then this thing start getting mean. It's like it starts saying, kill you. It starts saying, kill you. And it said, mad. And we was like, oh, hell no. So by this time, we was like, but we were about 13, 14 years old. So by this time, like a year later, we had got to tell you, when it said, kill you, me and my sister said, it's time to get rid of it. So we broke the board in half. Which I don't know why, but we threw it in a trash can outside the house. And so we went to school. So when we came back to school, y'all, I kid you not, this goddamn Ouija board sitting in the middle of our room, of the floor, together, put together like it never been broke. So me and my sister stopped. We was walking around. We just stopped at the door, and we was like, "What the hell?" So we ran. We was like, "Mama, mama!" My mom was like, "What?" We was like, "Did you put this Ouija board back in our room?" My mom was like, "What are you talking about?" We was like, "This Ouija board." My mom. We didn't tell my mom we broke it, right? Because we didn't want her to get mad because we wasted her money. She said, "Man, put that shit up." She came in, put that shit up, and put it back under the bed. And so me and my sister ran outside. It wasn't in a trash can. So we was like, oh, hell no. So we put that thing back in the box. And because we started, the pendulum start moving, going real crazy. So me and my sister was like, oh, hell no. So we remember what the pastor said. So we threw it in a box. And we used to always walk downtown Mobile to the library on Government Street. So, and we always passed like, we knew some dumpsters around the library. So we was always walk to the library. So when we was walking to the library, we just threw it in a dumpster up there. And we was like, oh, heck no. But my grandmother told us, she said, that's why I didn't want it around. Y'all probably open something. We was like, well, why you ain't tell us when we got it? She said, I didn't want to ruin y'all childhood, but don't ever play with stuff like that again. So that was mine. But it was a few other things the thing did, but it was crazy. But all right, y'all, I got to get ready to go to work. So I'll try to make another post soon. Bye. If TikTok ain't gone by then. But all right, bye.
Where to sit down. You have to keep two hands on it.
You're recording me. Don't get my fat in it.
I'm not.
Put a shirt on.
It's on the board. But you posted that photo again.
Is there
Fish.
a spirit here?
No, it's just still. Just keep your fingers on it. You gotta barely touch it.
Barely touch it. I'm moving it.
Josh got so scared.
It's not real. If there's anything here,
Smack. Harry?
Make a sign. Take possession of my body.
Josh, you should not have said that. Hey, look, I just want you to know if that Stranger Thing type happens, your ass is getting thrown outside. I ain't
Just put my favorite song in. All you gotta do is like Dax Deer Alcohol. I'm set.
My heart hurts. My heart hurts. You can barely touch it.
Ah!
See Ricky?
Bye.
You're dead tonight. 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
You gotta play at 3 a.m.
Story time. If you've ever seen the YouTube movie called I Am Zozo about a Ouija board demon, I have a story for you that is eerily similar and 20 years before. As a Gen X kid, we played outside a lot, and we didn't watch a lot of TV, and we had a lot of slumber parties, and we would play with Ouija boards and go in the woods, and we don't talk about what happened in the woods, but Ouija boards were a thing that we did. We did Light as a Feather and Bloody Mary and all that stuff. And so when I turned 16, I got one of the game board Ouija boards as a gift. And my friends and I, or my siblings and I, would play it. And we thought it was great fun. We were convinced, though, if the planchette started moving in a circle, that a demon was trying to possess you, and so we would immediately go to goodbye. But we always went back. So one day, myself and my friend Mandy were playing with this Ouija board, and a entity came up called Zozo, Z-A-Z-A. And at first, it would just keep going, Z-A-Z-A-Z-A. And then the planchette would move in a circle. And we would go to goodbye, and then we would go back on there. And so that night, I felt something get in the bed with me. And my house was already haunted. We had a hat man named Mr. Allred. We had tons of poltergeist activity. Light bulbs would explode, and my mom saw the hat man standing in the doorway one time smoking a cigarette, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So anyway, I felt something get in the bed with me. And when I rolled over, there I saw, I guess, a demon. Is what it looked like to me, in the bed with me, but it had no eyes. And instead of running, screaming, I just rolled over and closed my eyes and tried to go to sleep like it wasn't there. Even though I could hear it breathing and I could feel my bed pushed down. It was completely creepy and I was frozen in fear. Well, I did not contribute one to the other, but I no longer played with Ouija boards after that until I went to college. And there will be a part 2, so follow. So this is part 2 to the Zozo Ouija board story that I was telling. So fast forward and I'm in college and we're telling scary stories and my friends want to go get a Ouija board. And we go to the store to find one and they can't find one. So I did wood burning and I said, hey, I'll make y'all one. But I'm not going to play it because I don't mess with Ouija boards. I've had bad experiences. So I made them one with the wood burner. And they sat down and they said, is anybody here with us? And the first thing that comes up on the planchette is ZA, ZA. So I freak out and I grab the Ouija board and I throw it in the floor and I'm bawling, crying, and I'm trying to explain to them, that this thing had obviously followed me or was trying to make contact with me again after all these years. So we go on with the rest of our night and they put the Ouija board in one of their rooms. Well, that night, they hear this weird sound in the room, and so they leave the room and they go and stay in their roommate's room because they were out of town. And turns out that all of the circuits in their computer had somehow melted as if there was a power surge, but the computer was unplugged. So they attributed it to the Ouija board and they threw the Ouija board out. Meanwhile, I had spent the night with one of my friends and we were laying in the dark and we were talking about this. And it was so dark that you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Yet I saw something rush in my face. And I screamed and I scrambled for the lights. And I was totally freaked out. And we stayed up all night reading the Bible out loud. We were totally terrified. So the next day, I get a phone call from a high school friend's mother. And she says to me, hey, we were moving and I found your Ouija board that I guess you had left over here after a slumber party when y'all were, in high school or whatever. Do you want it back? Now, granted, this is the next day after all of that had happened. And I had not seen this particular Ouija board in several years, nor had I talked to this woman. Needless to say, I told her to get rid of it. And that's the last time that I ever messed with a Ouija board, ever again. So this is just a follow-up on my stories that I told today about the Ouija board. There's a part 1 and a part 2 in my profile if you want to go and look at them, about this demonic entity named Zozo that I came in contact with. And a few years ago, I was flipping through the television when I heard the name Zozo. So I stopped to see what it was, and a man was talking about having contact with this entity named Zozo, which there are hundreds of stories of people apparently coming in contact with this Zozo creature. And anyway, then he said that he also was in contact with a subdemon named Zozo. And that was kind of creepy, but in a way, I kind of figured that it was a real thing. You know, I had these experiences and my experiences were very real. It just confirmed to me that my experiences were very real. And somebody in my comments had said that demons don't spell very well, and so when people play with Ouija boards that you usually get Zozo, Zaza, or Mama. But I don't know if that's the case or not. What I do know is that these things are very real, and they can have lasting consequences, and some really terrifying things can happen to you because of them. And they did for me. And apparently for this man that was on the television, and the hundreds of people that have told their stories about Zozo.
So we tried to use the Ouija board to find out more about my haunted doll as well as Mackie's. Don't worry, we were safe with it. Mackie was a little nervous, but we had a white candle, lavender, all of it. Guys, so we found out that Lola's birthday is 10/20/1901, and Mackie was freaking out because that's her birthday, but not 1901. Yeah, not 1901. So that was pretty crazy. We also found out that Lola passed away in November, right after her 19th birthday. She unfortunately did not remember her last name. We then decided to ask some personal questions. Have I had the coronavirus before?
Oh shit. Wait, what? Have I had the coronavirus before? Oh, that's so right. I haven't had any sicknesses in
And I didn't know
months.
that. I also found out that Lola may have had something to do with me purchasing her. We still need to find out more about Samantha.
When me and my sisters were in high school, we got our hands on a glow-in-the-dark Ouija board from Toys R Us and decided to use it in our house because we experienced weird things on occasion and we were sure there had to be a ghost or two. So we used the Ouija board. Nothing happens initially, but after using it, me and multiple other people in my family started to see shadow figures in the home. And it got to the point that I couldn't sleep in my bedroom at night anymore because the activity was bonkers. I would literally drag my twin-size mattress out to our living room and I would sleep out there at night because no one could stay in my room. So finally one night, one of my family members is like, hey, let me sleep in your room with you and see if I see anything. And that night I wake up to them screaming bloody murder. I look up, I see multiple shadow figures all standing in the room. And before I say anything, I look at them and I say, what did you see? And they said, Ivy, I saw them. It was crazy. So how that whole situation ended is that it didn't, and my parents' house is still super haunted to this day. Which for me, as a ghost hunter, is fantastic because it means every time I go and visit home, especially when I stay the night, I always bring some of my ghost hunting equipment with me and get to do little investigations. So in the end, that whole experience, as scary as it was at the time, it did turn myself and some of my other family members into paranormal fanatics who are now just really interested and fascinated by it all. I even collect Ouija boards and I still frequently use them to this day. And actually, not this weekend, but next weekend on the 11th, I will be probably staying the night at their house again, so maybe I'll try and film some stuff for TikTok. I'll definitely bring my pride and joy, my tripwire, because the spirits at my parents' house love this thing. And for people in the comments trying to warn me about Ouija boards, again, I have them all over the place. I love them.
Welcome to Paranormal Night Shift, your paranormal stories, now told here. I'm going to go ahead and give a disclaimer on this one. I've read a couple of these, but none of them have affected me as much as this story. Viewer discretion is advised. This fan wants to stay anonymous, and once you get into the story, you'll understand why. But I have to give them names, so we're going to call them Kyle. Kyle was a military kid, and if you're a military kid, you completely understand. Kyle had been at 5 schools in 3 different years and never stayed anywhere long at all. Just a social outcast, goth kid that everybody knew. But his dad was a pretty big deal in the Army. It was time for another move. He wasn't even in senior year in high school yet, and again, new friends, new town, new move. But Dad said this time it was going to be different. Dad had just signed a 24-month contract, gotten a promotion, and said, we're going to be here 24 months, 2 years. And when my dad made a promise, he kept it. So I was so excited. He took me shopping for new clothes. He hated my grunge style, but he's always been super supportive. New clothes, dyed my hair black, new school, it's time to rock and roll. And I thought I was going to have a hard time making friends, but first day, I met all sorts of wonderful people. There was so much of a community down there. I felt so accepted. I met my best friend Kyler and his twin sister Sky. And at 14 years old, it took me all of 2.7 seconds to fall in love with her. I was in love deep and we were all inseparable. And we had a large group of friends. And Kyler's parents were super cool. Halloween night, her parents were out of town. And my dad said it was actually cool if I went to the party and spent the night. So I got to totally hang out with my girlfriend overnight and my best friend. This was going to be amazing. Their hippy-dippy grandma was in charge, so there was some adult supervision, but for the most part, it was just all of us kids running wild, having a great time. That's until Kyler and Sky came to me and said, "Hey, you want to do something really creepy?" I was down to the basement. There was already people waiting. There was a pentagram in the middle of the room, and of course a Ouija board. They said, "Hey, let's do a seance. It'll be fun." Now look, I'm a goth kid, but I always did it just to kind of rebel against my dad. I never believed in any of this stuff, and I really didn't feel comfortable with Ouija boards, but, I mean, I was in love. I wanted to do something. Sky took my hand and, ouch, she pricked it with something. Why'd you do that? It'll help it. It'll help everything. The lights turned off, and she starts saying things, weird things. It's not like what it talked about in the game. She's talking in a language I don't understand. And everybody there, everybody in the circle just kept saying my name. It felt really, really weird, and I was ready to go. I didn't like this anymore. Now he will be complete. Now he will be complete. Chanting filled the room. Now he will be complete. Now he will be complete. Cut it out, guys. I don't like this anymore. I don't want to do this. The whole time, I kept feeling something pushing on me, something hurting me. I didn't want to do it anymore. I got up and I kicked that Ouija board across the room. I don't want to do this anymore, guys. I'm done. Tyler, I told you I didn't want to do this. I don't like stuff like this. Look, it's moving. The planchette continued to move. No one was around it. It was moving by itself and it was spelling my name. I grabbed the board and the planchette, threw it in a box and ran outside. We had started a bonfire earlier. I was going to burn it. Skylar was behind me and Kai was behind me. They were all saying something, but I couldn't hear them. I was going to burn it. This thing was evil. I threw it in the fire and somehow it burned brighter than I expected it to. It engulfed in flames. Turned around and both of them looked as white as ghost. We didn't close the session. We have to close the portal. We have to say goodbye. That was the last night I ever hung out with either of them. I told my dad what had happened and I started spending a lot more time with other military kids. I cut my hair, got rid of my golf clothes, and just kind of changed my life. I actually made the football team. Had a whole bunch of preppy friends now, and things were going great. Because of the time I was spending with my dad and his rank, I totally started excelling at school. Everything was going wonderful. I even made the football team. I went to college, went into the military, and started my own family. That all goth stuff had all been 20 years ago. I kind of forgot about it, you know, creepy, silly stuff we do as kids, right? That was until the other night. We were having a barbecue for Memorial Day, and my youngest daughter came outside and said, "Daddy, Daddy, the big kids are doing something bad. Go look." I go inside, and sure enough, my son and his friend are playing Ouija board in his room. It's the first time as a parent I have ever seen red. I kicked the thing across the room. I was screaming. I was yelling. So mad and so scared at the same time. How could you guys do this? This is so dangerous. Don't you understand how dangerous this is? Look, I have to calm down. Please, don't do this. Go outside and play with the other kids, and we're going to have a talk later. I was trying to pick up the pieces, and then I saw the planchette start to move and spell out, "We've missed you." I'm done. I'm done for a little bit. Don't forget we're doing a live ghost hunt here soon. Make sure you like, share everything with this page. Love my time travelers. Y'all have a great one. Send me your paranormal stories next.
So I was doing a Ouija board at 3 a.m. I asked if ghosts were real.
Today's story comes from Trey, and it's called We Were Young. To this day, I don't know much about Ouija boards. I don't care to. All I need to know is that they scare me, and that the one time we messed with one was 1 times too many. I grew up in Montgomery, Alabama. We weren't poor, but we weren't well off either. We lived in a duplex, but we were happy. The family next to us had 2 little boys about the same age as me, and they had an older sister. It was our summer block party. Everybody around the neighborhood was out having a good time. All the parents were out in the parking lot just hanging out, grilling, and having fun, like every other block party anybody's ever been to. What was the best part about the block party is the kids kind of had free range of the houses. We would just go back and forth wherever we wanted to go. The neighbors that lived directly across from us had an older sister, and we went to go hang out in their house. Now their room sat adjacent to my room. It was a duplex, so I could hear them, and we would talk to each other at night and things like that. It was like code. But we all had a good time, but they were sitting in that room, the older sister and some of the older kids, and they were playing with a Ouija board. Me and my friends walked in on them playing. Hey, do you guys want to play too? Sure. We were 6 years old. We were just excited that anybody wanted to play with us. Remember, they started asking it questions, and the planchette began to move around the board. We all thought it was just good fun. But when they started communicating with something, they used me and my friends as their sacrifice. See, whatever they started contacting wanted some sort of sacrifice. And teenagers being teenagers and us being 6, they said, sure, you can have one of them. Why not? Planchette began to spin around in circles violently. Whatever happened, it scared the older kids as well. I remember them looking at us and going, you have to get out of here. You got to run. Well, I was 6, and I ran, and I cried, and I told my mom. That's what I did. My mom and their mom were very upset with them. They made the big kids apologize to the little kids. They were very, very upset. But the thing was, the big kids seemed kind of scared too. It just didn't make sense to me. We didn't talk to that family much more after that. Even though they lived right next to us, my mom kind of refused to be their friends anymore. She was very upset about the whole situation. They moved shortly after that, and the apartment sat vacant for a couple months. But when that apartment was empty, I told you that their bedroom was right across from ours. I continued to hear it, scratching and clawing on the walls, knocking. It sounded like something was calling my name. I continued to hear the scratching and the knocking all the time. Now, granted, I was 6 and I was scared, but I know what I heard. I would wake my parents up and ask to sleep in their room. My mom and dad finally got tired of it. They would go into my room and try to lay me back down, and that's when my dad heard it. The scratching and the knocking coming from the wall right in the middle. The small, tiny little connecting wall. It offered me no protection in general, especially from the spiritual realm. We could continue to hear the knocking and the scratching all the time. Sometimes the sounds would be moaning, and my parents and I both could swear that we heard someone in the other room talking. My dad even called the cops a couple of times to go search it, but nobody was ever there. We moved out shortly after that. My dad got a new job, and my mom and dad were eager to move out. I never messed with Ouija boards after that. Granted, I was 6, and I know this whole story comes from the perspective of a 6-year-old, but it was enough to instill that fear inside of me my entire life. There's core memories, things that you just remember. And I remember at 6 years old, my parents and myself being terrified of something that they couldn't explain to me. Today's story comes from Lori, and she writes in, a long time ago, me and my sister played a game. It was a silly game that most kids play, but we played it nonetheless. My parents were very strong in their spiritual and religious beliefs. They would have never let us have a Ouija board. So instead, my sister and I went online and found out how to make one of our own. We were just kids. We were just playing a game, but we contacted something. All the rules that are involved with Ouija boards, we broke. We contacted things, we asked for it to show itself, we asked for it to attach itself to us, and then of course when we got scared, we burned it and destroyed it without ever closing the session. The older I got, the more I realized that there were some unexplained things that happened in my childhood. Things that just don't happen to normal kids. There's tragedies all throughout this world, but somehow, some way, everything just kept tying back to me. The people that I was associated with, people that I was friends with, the tragedies in their life, their loss, their terminal illnesses, the loss of a parent, the loss of a dog, a loved one, anything like that. It was because I was around. And there was just so many of them now that I look back. After college, I took a job in a nursing home. I always wanted to help people, but it seems like whatever's attached to me does not. The other night, an elderly woman who we all assumed couldn't speak at all anymore was screaming in her bedroom. I ran down the hallway and opened the door and turned on the lights, and I saw a black, shadowy mask run out of her room. I tried to calm her down, but she knew what she had seen, and she knew that I had seen it too. As I opened the door into the hallway, an older man who we assumed was bedridden and couldn't walk stepped out into the hallway. The black mass exited his room as he said, "Did you see that too?" And those were the last words he ever spoke. A man who hadn't walked in years, out in the hallway, collapsed. The old woman looked at me and said, "You know that it was here for me. You let it out." And then it took him. It took a couple days off of work to try to explain it to myself. But the moment I came back to work, that night, the same thing. This black, shadowy mask would go from room to room. So far, it's claimed 3 people, but I can't help but think that I'm the one who brought it in.
If you believe using a Ouija board will open a portal causing irreversible damage and chaos and ruin the rest of your life, these are 3 places you probably don't want to go. I'm a paranormal investigator. If you're my kind of person, you'll watch this, go to all 3 of them, and tell me all about it. The first one is the Grand Midway Hotel in Wimber, Pennsylvania. It has the Guinness World's largest Ouija board right on its roof. I don't know if there's a better way to put out a bat signal for demons, but they've done it. Personally, I don't believe that using a Ouija board will summon demons, but if you want to try it out, go for it. If one Ouija board is bad, this next place is going to be your worst nightmare. The Salem Witchboard Museum in Salem, Massachusetts, as if Salem weren't haunted enough, has several different walls with Ouija boards all over them. And not just Ouija boards, they have all different kinds of talking boards, spirit boards, witch boards, whatever you want to call them, used by mediums, spiritualists, and witches over 100 years ago. The owner knows a ton of history about them, and you can learn all about how they came to be before they had the huge stigma. The last place is like the Ouija board grand finale. Baltimore, Maryland has a ton of Ouija history as it is. There's a 7-Eleven where the board was named, there's the talking board grave of the man who patented the boards, and now they're getting their own Ouija museum on top of an oddity shop.
This family from Mexico was able to record this terrifying video of this girl after she was acting extremely strange. This was after the family did some research. They found out the girl was playing the Ouija board. Here is the video. Pay close attention.
Simón, le bajas al baño, ¿eh?
¿Le bajas?
Yo creo que se tapó en el baño. Que si lo tienes, güey, ya te tardaste chido. ¿Cómo vas a servir Ay.
story takes place in the small town of Puruandiro. 35 years ago, when my mom had already moved to the States with my dad, she decided it was time to go visit her family in Mexico. During the week, my mom, her sisters, and her sister-in-law got bored and they decided to play with a Ouija board. They got in contact with the spirit of a little boy who had become decapitated in a car accident. His head was never found. The last night before my parents were supposed to fly back to the States, my mom and aunts decided to play one last time. While my mom and aunts were playing with the Ouija, they heard their dog barking and running back and forth down the hall. My grandmother's house where they were playing had a partial roof and the hallway led up to what was called the corral, where the bathroom was, and was also dark as fuck. So the dog kept running up and down the hall. He would stop right where the light ended, leading to the corral. My mom said she heard the dog start crying and he came barking at the door to where they were. My aunt opens the door and lets the dog in. She's looking towards the corral to see what the dog was barking at. My aunt is still looking when she suddenly turns pale. She tells my mom, "Gorda, ven." I see a little boy in diapers and he's hiding behind one of the vases. He doesn't have a head. I'm sorry, I can't keep reading this. This is so scary. My mom then tells my aunt, "No, I'm not looking at that." They finally shut the door and decided to put the Ouija board inside the drawer. They went to bed frightened. Throughout the night, my mom and aunt said they could hear the dog crying like if he could see something they couldn't. Early in the morning, around 3 a.m., my mom wakes up and they're saying their goodbyes to her family. It's still raining and there's a taxi waiting outside for my parents and sister. While my parents are loading up the luggage and my aunt goes outside to say goodbye. She's standing at the door with my uncle when she notices a little boy in the front seat. My uncle looks but sees no one and tells my aunt, "There's no one there, you're crazy." Fast forward a couple days later, my mom calls my grandmother to check in with her when my grandma starts telling my mom que andan asustando a tus hermanas. Anyways, that's the end of the story. Every time I go visit my family in Mexico, my aunts always tell us that story. That's scary.
This is a true horrifying story of the Ouija board. We all know what this piece of wood is capable of doing. And surprisingly, it's been around since the 1800s, and people are not aware of the dangers this game can bring. When a person wants to come in contact with jinns, the jinn must be invited by the human himself. They cannot communicate unless there is a portal, and the Ouija board is a portal. A very well-known Russian paranormal investigator wanted answers. He went alone to an abandoned house. It's one of the most haunted houses in the country. He took his Ouija board. He brought monitors, mics, many cameras, movement detectors, and a whole bunch of equipment. He lit up candles. He placed the Ouija board in the living room, and he invited the demon to come and play. Warning: I will be showing you real footage of what happened. Before he started, there were small movements detected. He sat down and asked the first question. "Are you here now?" The glass did not move, but as he placed his finger on the glass, this happened. He kept asking questions such as, "Was it you who moved the glass?" "Yes." "Can you tell me your name?" "No." As the glass was still on top of no, he asked, "So you won't tell me your name?" And this happened. He asked, "Can you harm me?" He asked again, "Do you wish me harm?" He called this jinn out and asked to stop the game, but he doesn't know that it's too late. You opened the portal. They play by their rules now. They're not going anywhere if you ask them to leave. And chaos is what happened.
Я прощаюсь с тобой. Уходи. Твою мать.
This is real. Playing this game can kill you. You don't choose what jinn you play with. If you invite them in, they might stick around forever. Stay away from this board.
So I have many ghost encounter stories, but this one is up there because we caught it on camera. And I'm going to post a picture of exactly what we saw. You guys let me know what you think. But backstory, my father had passed away very suddenly. And I have 4 brothers and sisters. We were all so like overwhelmingly sad and just in a state of shock, and we were desperate to see if we can, you know, get some answers on what happened and try to communicate with my father. So we walk up the block. I lived up the block from this place called Toys R Us, and they sold Ouija boards. We go get a Ouija board from Toys R Us, and we're like, okay, well, you know, let's see if we can try to talk to Dad. So we set everything up, we light the candles, we pray for protection, all of the above. And 4 of us, I think 4 of us have our hands on it, and it's doing everything it's supposed to be doing. Like, it's answering the questions, doing whatever. And my brother decides he wants to snap a picture to see if he sees anything. So he snaps a picture, he like stops dead, and he's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We're all like, what? So he turns the phone around, and I'm going to post a picture of exactly what he snapped. This is it. And so this is all of us playing Ouija board here. What the hell is this? What is this? I see nose, I see like a whole face, these wings maybe, but I see it looking down at the Ouija board. What the hell is this? So now, just to let you know, this happened 3 days after my father's death and like the night before his funeral. But none of us got the feeling that it was my father. So my mother had gone to like some psychic, and she was like, oh, you know, it's the angel of death, blah, blah, blah. But nobody could tell me it was something that was like wrong with the camera. I'm going to post the picture again just so you guys can like send it to your psychic friends and let me know what the hell that was staring at the Ouija board. Because till this day, like, I see that picture, I get chills, and I will never, ever, ever forget it. So do not play the freaking Ouija board. Do not do it. Here it is again. Just like, let me know what you think you see. Like, I don't... What?
You see my mouse is up here, right?
Are there any spirits here who wish to communicate?
No.
Please, show
Say
us
please
a
to
sign
him?
if you're here. I don't think this is working.
Yes. Speak. What was that?
What was that? Spirit, are you here with us?
Oh, hell no. I'm God. Jesus Christ. I love Jesus Christ. I know. If this moves, it's the... I'm done.
Amy,
I'm done.
was that you?
No. Amy? Amy, talk.
Holy crap. I can't believe it's working.
No!
Z. Oh. Is this you? Z.
No, Vance, I can move this whole thing with one finger. With your fingers on it.
That's not good. It literally just spelled out Zozo.
Can we help you?
How can we help? D-I-E. Yo. She's crying. I'm not the one doing that.
It's actually not funny.
I know I'm not the one doing it though.
Well,
Alright, let's sing something. N-O-W, die now? And how do you expect that to happen? K-I-L, kill. Y-O-U-R-S-E-L. So, you expect me to die by killing myself? Yeah, well, that's not gonna happen. You think it's gonna happen? Well, you're wrong. That's not even funny, dude.
I wanna walk home.
That's not, it just spelled out car. That's not even funny. I knew it was gonna fucking say that. Like, I'm actually starting to tear up. That's not even funny. Yo, you know how scary that is? Like, knowing that, like... Alright, so you're just effing with us, right? That's not even funny. That's not even funny.
I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. Please. Please, I'm having anxiety attack.
Alright. Take it off. Take your hand off. Goodbye.
No.
Goodbye. Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
It doesn't want us to end. What happens?
It's like waiting for time.
What happens if we take our hands off and say goodbye? Dead. Okay, Zozo, let's be realistic here. That is not gonna happen. Yes, it's not gonna happen, and you know that. No.
Is it going to happen? Yes or no?
He's effing with us. It's not real.
I want to say goodbye, please.
Like, listen, yeah, like, this may be real. Like, we can contact spirits and everything, but there's no saying.
Can you please stop?
If you want to stop, we can stop. But let me like talk to you. Like,
I don't want to talk with my hand on the board. Do you not understand that? Like,
all right, guys. So I have the Ouija board right here. Me and Lizzie are like ourselves right now. My camera battery just died, so I can't record.
What was that? What was that, Lance? Lance, I'm done.
What was that?
Let's go.
I think it's fine. I think it was just like. What the? What the?
Your phone!
Girls were hospitalized after playing with a Ouija board. Watch this video with me.
Hey, did you hear on Fox News recently that 23 girls were rushed to the hospital at the same time after playing with a Ouija board? And another 11 girls were rushed to the hospital from another school after playing with a Ouija board. Would you like to know why? Because a Ouija board is nothing less than an instrument that takes you to the other side. It is a portal to the invisible realm where creatures are waiting to communicate with you. And when you fool with a Ouija board, you're giving them permission to come into your life, your house, your finances, your children. Everything will go south. Burn your Ouija boards. Do not give them away. Throw them away. Those are portals to the other side where invisible creatures are waiting to possess you.
People think that Ouija boards are just a game or a joke, but I'm telling you, people who are actually into witchcraft and New Age know that this is not true. They're the real deal, and they can expose you to demons and open up doors. So make sure that you're not entertaining these things. If you like content on the supernatural, be sure to follow or subscribe for more.
This is how I know that Ouija boards are real. I don't suggest you play a Ouija board, but if you do, you have to try this. A lot of people think Ouija boards only work because of your subconscious. This method proves that it's not. The first thing we did is me and my best friend decided we were going to play a Ouija board and prove that they work. So you put a blindfold on each person and you put the Ouija board in front of you. Then you have somebody else who is not blindfolded take the Ouija board and spin it around. That way neither player can memorize which way the board is facing. Then you let the two players ask a question and try to use the board to answer it. If the two players successfully spell out literally anything, then I'd take that as proof that Ouija boards work. Now, I'm no genius, but the odds of them spelling anything on the board, I'm pretty sure are less than 0, considering that they can't see and they don't know which direction it's facing. I mean, we can ask Hank Green, just tag him. But me and my friend successfully did this, and that's how I know Ouija boards are real. So don't play scary games.
Thanks for joining us on this eerie journey through the world of Ouija board tales. If these stories sent shivers down your spine, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more chilling content. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. And Creepy Crew, we want to hear from you. Share your own paranormal experiences in the comments below or email them to thecreepycollectivellc@gmail.com. Until next time, stay spooky and keep questioning the unknown.